But you can bring her back to life again if you just come and lay your hand on her." So Jesus and his disciples got up and went with him. Just then, a woman who had suffered for 12 years with constant bleeding came up behind him. She touched the fringe of his robe, for she thought, "If I can just touch his robe, I will be healed." Jesus turned around, and when he saw her, he said, "Daughter, be encouraged. Your faith has made you well." And the woman was healed at that moment. When Jesus arrived at the official's home, he saw the noisy crowd and heard the funeral music. "Get out," he told them. "The girl is not dead. She's only asleep." But the crowd laughed at him. After the crowd was put outside, however, Jesus went in and took the girl by the hand, and she stood up. The report of this miracle swept through the entire countryside.
What a great happening. Are you hearing me? Check me out. Check, check, check. You got me now? Yeah, there we go. That's for you on Facebook. Probably couldn't hear me, and that's a good thing. According to Roman, I'm old now, so this is a great happening. I mean, when you see this, you see Jesus at his most powerful. You see Jesus that if we have faith in him, he will do so many things in our lives. And here, he shows us what it takes. This is a story about two people who had faith in Jesus. These people, one was a religious leader. He was respected and loved in the community. The other was a woman who had been ill for 12 years. She was looked at as unclean. She was poor. She was lonely. And she was hopeless. The religious leader boldly approached Jesus and even talked with him, while the woman timidly approached Jesus from behind, just to touch the edge of his robe. They were very different people. They came from completely different backgrounds. They approached Jesus in different ways, and yet Jesus honored them both. As we take a look at this, we see that Jesus loved the religious woman, a religious man, but he loved the woman. He loved the social outcast. And he loved this religious leader the same. He didn't see them in any different way. When Jesus looks at us, what does he see? I'm going to tell you today, he doesn't see you for what kind of car you drive, or what kind of house you live in, or how much money you make, or even how popular you are. He sees us in our hearts. He sees what's going on the inside rather than the outside. It doesn't matter who you are. It matters who you know. I love this because I was reminded of that with my son Tyler. He had a job and he was working at that job, and he'd worked there for 4 years and he was tired of it. He was ready to get out of the job. And he was just looking for any kind of job to get out of it, a better job. And one of his buddies called him up and said, "Hey, there's a tech job open here, and I think you should come and apply for it." And Tyler said, "Well, I don't have any tech experience." He goes, "I know, but I think you have the personality and everything that it's going to take to do this job, so come and apply." And so he applied for the job, and his friend vouched for him. Guess what? He got the job. It wasn't for what he knew. It wasn't for his skills. He came to interview, and he had to be likable, and he had to look like he was teachable and all of that. But basically, it was because of who he knew that he got the job. If he'd have walked in off the street, they probably wouldn't even have given him an interview. But it was because of who he knew. And that's the way it is with us in our lives. It's not because of what we know. It's not because of who we are. It's not because of what we have. It's because of who we know. Jesus. And when you know Jesus, it makes a difference in your life. Oh, I'm not just talking about a flim-flam belief, because the Bible tells us that even the demons believe and they shudder in fear. But I'm talking about knowing Jesus with all your heart. I'm talking about saying, "Here I am." It's not who you are. It is who you know. Jesus looks at our hearts. And when we look at why Jesus performed these two miracles, we find that these two very different people, what did they have in common? Simply this: faith. Real faith. Both of them had nothing to offer but their faith in Jesus. It wasn't their years of effort to be good. It wasn't their accumulated resources or their social status. It was their faith. But sometimes I think we get mixed up about what faith really means. I don't think we really understand what real faith is. And so today, we're going to take a look at real faith. Okay? So this is what it means. Faith means confidence, belief, reliance, and surrender. Now you can go home. We're actually going to stop and we're going to take a look at each one of these, because I believe that when we take a look at the confidence and the belief and the reliance and the surrender, we'll find out what faith really means and what we need in our lives. So let's take a look at this. First off, faith means confidence. The religious leader left his family in the biggest crisis they had ever experienced. His daughter was dead. And instead of staying there and being the rock and being supportive and trying to help the family through this, he left them. He left them for one simple reason. He heard about this Jesus. Maybe he'd even seen him. But what he heard and what he had saw, he was willing to put his confidence in the fact that this Jesus was who he said he was. The confidence that all the stories he had heard were true. Listen to what he says to Jesus. My daughter has just died, but you can bring her back to life again. If you just come and lay your hand on her. I'm going to tell you what, that is confidence. He's looking and saying, look, Jesus, my daughter's dead. But with just one touch from you, she'll live again. She'll walk. She'll talk. She'll eat. She'll be part of our family again. Folks, that is confidence. That is confidence to leave your family behind and say, grieve. But I'm going to go to one that I believe can help. And look at the confidence of this woman. She's an outcast. She's looked down on. She is labeled unclean. People did not even want to be around her. When she came around, she was unclean. They'd step back and they'd move away from her because they knew who she was. She was worth nothing. Not even a look. People would look away. They wouldn't even look at her. But she had heard about Jesus, how he healed the sick, made the lame to walk, and the blind to see. She had the confidence, enough of it, to go where no one wanted her. They wanted to be around Jesus, not this outcast of a woman. And she went where no one wanted her. And listen to what she was thinking. If I can just touch his robe, I will be healed. Again, look at the confidence of this woman. Just touching his robe can heal me. I don't have to talk to him. He doesn't even have to know I touched his robe. Just the fact that I touched his robe and I will be healed. Folks, that is confidence. For us to have faith today, we need to have the confidence that Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And what he did back then, he can still do today. We need to have faith that he cares, the confidence to know that he cares for us. And he sees us. And he wants to be there for us. Confidence that no matter what happens, Jesus is doing what is best for us. The Bible tells us we can be so sure that every detail in our lives of love for God is worked into something good. Every detail of our lives, whether good or bad, whether you're sick or you're well, whether you're poor or you're rich, or you're somewhere in between, whether you're happy or sad, the Bible tells us that if you love God and have confidence in him, every detail of your life will work out for your good. Too many times when things aren't going the way we want them to, we blame God. We tell him what we think is best for us because, of course, we know better than God. It would be better if you did it this way because I think that would be better. But God knows what is best. We need to have confidence in God that He is in control of whatever happens, and it is for our good. Confidence. Do you have confidence in Jesus? That He's really wanting to work in your life? Faith means confidence, but it also means belief. Both the religious leader and the woman had to believe that Jesus was more than just a mere man. No mere man could do the things that they had heard Jesus had done. They believed that Jesus was the Son of God, just as He claimed. Only God could bring the dead back to life. And this woman had seen every doctor trying to get well, and none of them could heal her. Only God could heal her broken body. You see, faith means that we believe that Jesus is the Son of God and that what He says, He will do. Do you believe that today? Okay, one or two over here and one or two over here. You guys need to wake up. Open your eyes. Do you believe what Jesus says He will do today? That's a little bit better. The Bible tells us, without faith, no one can please God. Anyone who comes to God must believe that He is real and that He rewards those who truly want to find Him. You need to believe that Jesus is the Son of God, that He was not just a human being, but He was fully man and fully God. You need to believe that Jesus is the same today as He was yesterday. And He'll be the same tomorrow as He was the day before that. You must believe that Jesus is God. Without that belief, your faith is useless. Faith means we have confidence and we have belief. But it also means that we have reliance. We need to rely on Jesus. The religious leader and this woman had to come to the place where they said, we cannot do anything to help ourselves. We cannot do anything to help ourselves. We're at wit's end. We need to release our control and rely totally on God. The religious leader's daughter was dead. He was crushed. Most likely he had exhausted every avenue trying to find a cure for her. I would imagine that he prayed until he could no longer pray, till there were no more words to speak. But nothing worked. Everything he tried, failed, and his daughter died. It was the same for this woman. She had been sick for 12 years. 12 years she'd had this illness. She had seen doctors. She probably tried looking into remedies that she thought might work. And she probably prayed until she was exhausted from prayer. But again, nothing worked. Every time she tried something new, it failed. And she remained an outcast. Both the religious leader and this woman had to begin this journey to Jesus with an admission of their own inability to do anything. That's where victory starts. When we say, I am unable to do anything, I give it to you, God. Only you can help. That's when things happen. When we totally rely on Jesus and not ourselves. That is what each of us needs to do today, no matter what's happening in our lives. Whether it is good or bad, we need to give up relying on ourselves and just rely on God. There is freedom when we do this. You see, when we rely on ourselves, we sit there and we worry and we figure out where can we go, what can we do, who can we see, what's next, is there anything else that I can do? But when you say, God, I'm done. I can't do it. It's yours. It releases that burden off your shoulders and God takes it and runs with it. But you see, too many times when we do that, we hang on to that. There's a story about in the Philippines of an old man, and he was carrying this heavy load on his back. And a caribou wagon went by, and the guy that was driving the caribou wagon said, "Hey, would you like to have a ride?" And this old man said, "Yes." So he gets on that caribou wagon, and he's standing there with the load on his back as they drove down the road. That's us. Too many times we keep that load on. What he should have done is taken the load off his shoulders and put it in the wagon and said, "I've had enough." And there would have been freedom from the back pain, from all the burden that he was carrying. And it is the same way with us. When it comes time for us to rely totally on God, we need to just take that burden off and set it down and let God carry it for us, because there is freedom in releasing that burden to God. And finally, faith means confidence, belief, reliance, but it also means surrender. Surrender may be the most important part of faith. Surrender is something that we do not like to do. But surrender is important. You see, surrender starts with the labels we wear. Do you know that? Think about this for a moment. For the religious leader, his labels could have been religious, educated, respected. And when his daughter was sick, and ultimately when she died, it could have been helpless, weak, and broken. For this outcast woman, we don't know what her life was like before she became ill. We don't know if she was respected in the community. We don't know if she was loved, if she was married, if she was single all her life. We know nothing about her. So the only labels that we know about this woman are outcast, unclean, hopeless, broken. You see, labels tend to define who we think we are and who others think we are. When I was young, I had very low self-esteem. I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think I was good enough at anything. Okay? I didn't think I was smart. I didn't think I was athletic. I didn't think anything good about myself. I had a family who loved me to death. But I had labeled myself as unworthy. I had labeled myself as not smart. I had labeled myself as not athletic. I had labeled myself these things. And the way I thought about myself is what I projected to others. And guess what? That's what they thought about me also. What do you think about yourself? You see, labels tend to define who we think we are and who others think we are. Both the religious leader and this woman had to surrender those labels and believe that Jesus would care enough about them to help them. Labels. What do you wear? Disabled? Divorced? Womanizer? Addict? Anxious? I'm just not enough? Or maybe we go to the other end of the spectrum. Wealthy? Popular? Powerful? We need to surrender our labels to God. No matter what they are, whether they're positive or negative, we need to surrender those labels to God because God does not care about labels. And we need to see ourselves as God sees us. When we have an encounter with Jesus, all of these labels, He tears them to pieces. He throws them out. He looks at us and He calls us sons and daughters, heirs with Jesus Christ. He doesn't see all those labels. He sees His children when we come to Him. And He sees us in love. And let me tell you something. For each and every one of you, no matter what you think of yourself, when Jesus looks at you, He sees a world of possibilities. He sees what you can be if you allow Him to work in your lives. He sees what you can do in this world if you surrender to Him. It's time for us to get rid of our labels. Think about it this way. We're coming up on Lisa's favorite time of year. She would say football, but I think it's election. Are you ready for all of the ads? Every commercial. I'm Cecil Brown, and I approve this message. And since the last presidential election, it has gotten really bad. We label ourselves as Democrats and Republicans. And Democrats hate Republicans, and Republicans hate Democrats. If you don't believe me, go on to Facebook. I don't care whether you're a Democrat or Republican, just put on there, hey, I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat, and just watch the comments. It's time for us to get rid of those labels also. Being a Democrat or Republican or any other label does not define who we are. We are children of God. I am a sinner that God has saved by His grace through my faith in Him. Through my surrender to Him. Though the world may call us other names, the only thing that really matters is what God calls us. Amen? We are children. We are God's children. And that is enough. Surrender also means that I need to give up. And I mean give up. Means I give up whatever it may be. Possessions, relationships, past sins, future insecurity. We need to let go and trust God with it all. Now, I want you to hear me. I cannot promise you that God will heal you instantly if you have this kind of faith. I cannot promise you that your problems will all disappear if you have this kind of faith. But I can promise you this. Above and beyond all of that, there will be a deeper healing of your heart if you have this kind of faith. And God will bring you peace that passes all understanding if you have this kind of faith. We need to learn to simply say, I give up. All heads bowed, all eyes closed. What do you need to give up today? What do you need to surrender? Do you need to rely on Him more? Do you need to believe that Jesus is the Son of God, that He died and He rose again just for you? Do you need to have confidence that He loves you enough that He wants to help you through whatever you're going through. Whatever it is, right here, right now, give it to God.